Right then, where should we start? So my name's Matt. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, we at Spirit, we've been going for a number of years now, 15. We first set out on our journey to build a business that would be digital first, that would be able to create its own shows and do the wrap around the marketing and build audiences around it. And I suppose, that's all right. Where was I? So yeah, I think we were way ahead of what's happening in the industry now, but we always believed this day would come. And over the years, we've built our reputation, and we've done some incredible projects over the years. We make television. We were known for a long time for making comedy. We brought back Trigger Happy. We made the stand-up sketch show. We did a number of other comedies. We're also in factual, so we do true crime and history. We're also in scripted now, and so we do a lot in long-form television. We also have our own podcast studio. So we were one of the first to market 10 years ago with visualized pods. Our biggest to date is Private Parts. You may have come across that. It used to be hosted by Jamie Lang, something that we spent a long time building. It's still going now. And in that studio, we have a multi-camera studio that is television spec, so that we can create end-to-end long-form programming that can sit on YouTube, can sit on television, you can listen to. And a good example of that is we produce, you may have come across Catching Up with the Royals, or A Night In with Sally Lindsay, 2 Channel 5 projects that are currently being produced, where you can listen to them as they drop on a Thursday morning. You can watch them on YouTube at 6 p.m. that day, watch them on Channel 5 on Saturdays, or you can catch up on the streamer. And they're also available long-form on Facebook. And all of those long-form views count towards one overall score that allow us to go and pull brands to be baked into the content. So that's a very different method to what you may have heard about today, which is sort of pre-roll, mid-roll, end-roll advertising, banner advertising, and the usual digital form. We are looking at doing that, plus baked-in advertising, and things like paid for subscriptions and memberships and live shows and all that kind of stuff. We also produce a lot of branded content in the sports space. We work with a lot of the Formula One teams. We work with a lot of the Premiership teams, integrating brands and doing branded content for them. And then we also have a multi-channel network, which is something quite new to the business. It's something that we've had functionality for a long time, but it's something that only in the last sort of 18 months has come to fruition, and we started to invest in. We have around about 500 channels and growing now on YouTube. And so that allows us to be a really multifaceted, multi-platform producer that can make content, distribute it in multiple places, and then monetize it. And that's very much the way we see the future, whether you are trying to get a commission or whether you are trying to exploit and build something that might take 3 to 5 years. So let's move on to what we're talking about today. So how to build a vertical studio. So the first thing I think we should do is read this slide. I think we all know what this means in TV. I mean, we've all been there. And then we might have seen this film. I mean, you can tell I've got a teenage daughter, because this is Mean Girls, and they like to laugh at people that aren't the same as them, until they show up with the money, and then obviously they get confused, and then eventually we have this scenario. And I think that's why you're all here. This is the expectation, wasn't it? We all thought that streaming was going to be the thing that killed linear television for us all. We thought that obviously YouTube and the creator economy came along, but we kind of felt that the future would be us all in very beautiful AI-created apartments, watching beautifully projected dramas. But what we didn't see really was this microdrama vertical world coming. We didn't see it, and not even us as a business that have been in the digital world for 15 years even saw this coming. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a brilliant thing for us to add for all of us, and I mean that. I think when you only have to look at the behaviour of the new generation coming up, the alpha generation, and seeing how vertical content is the thing that's really consuming them, that storytelling in the palm of the hand is going to be at least the next 5 to 10 years. And so the industry focus was on this, but then obviously we know the reality is this. We're in bed by 9:30, scrolling. It's mobile first. It's constant use. It's casual viewing. The behaviour has shifted. And so the behaviour came first. It was that sort of screen time had increased. We were all finding ourselves, doing more and more hours per day. It's habitual. Our attention has shifted. We talk about the attention economy, and we are really in an attention war. And when I described our business model at the beginning, we have a division that you may have seen me or the business talk about in the press quite a lot, which is called IP360, which is about how do you exploit your content in multiple ways. And that's not just distribution. That's not just one show everywhere, which I really believe is what you should be doing, because you've got to try and pull people wherever they can and grab their attention. But it's also, how do you build a brand that can do more than just that singular show? How can you turn a chat show into a documentary or into a drama or something else? I think the attention has shifted. We know that. We know that when we watch TV. There's a clip that I saw the other day. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but the guy that writes and directs Slow Horses, talking about how there are writers now and networks and streamers that are asking their writers to write and repeat lots of things and make it very, very simple in drama so that those double screening can keep up with the story. And I really thank them for doing that because my attention has shifted. But it's not really good. And my wife argues very, very well that if the drama was fucking great in the first place, then maybe we wouldn't be distracted. And I think she might have a point. So TV is what we choose to do, and vertical is definitely something that interrupts that. And I think that's really important for us to understand that, because then it starts making you understand about how us as a producer, how our behaviour shifts. So there's nothing new about vertical content. This is a craft that already exists. Hooks, pacing, format, attention. These are all the things that we talk about in digital all the time. And so us as a business, when this content came around, it's, yes, we've got to learn about the things that Sam was talking about, the hooks and the episodic lengths and the budgets and the shoot ratios and all those kind of things. There are some things that learning, but inherently we're used to sucking up and sponging up those details very, very quickly, and then the business knows how to operate in that world because it already does across a lot of the content that we make. And so pacing, drop-off structure, first, second matters. Clarity, subtlety, all those things are things that we've been doing in the craft for years, and so there's no sort of surprise that it's now moved into this way of storytelling. Lust Cop, I'd love to watch that. Has anyone watched Lust Cop? It's it's the number one. And I think we all know about the types of genres that are working in this space. It is sort of the 50 Shades of Grey type content at the moment. But what we are seeing is a lot of interest in the UK and in Europe. And when I talk a lot about vertical content now, and the people that I'm meeting that are producing this stuff all across the world, there is a shift into reality and true crime's coming. And, obviously we can see this thing is going to evolve and change shape as it matures. So, the story has now entered the feed. And I think this is the big difference from social content and the way that we are used to producing it. The hooks, and the sort of the quick form, retention-grabbing content that we make. We've now got to move into stuff that is episodic and narrative and so on. And as you will have heard, this began in China, moved to the US very quickly. It's in Ukraine, are doing lots of stuff, Turkey doing lots of stuff, and now this conversation has entered here. And so, this is what the format looks like. You've probably been told this already a couple of times today, but just to reiterate, on average, we're looking at something like 60 eps. We're looking at 60 to 90 seconds, or even longer, up to 3 minutes. Sam just said a moment ago. We've got hooks, we've got cliffhangers. All those things are really important. I think the other thing as well that Sam alluded to, depending on budget, is you've got to really think about your talent and about how many people you can have on screen. And so, you can't really afford that much. And so you've got to think about all these things before you even start conceiving the idea. Having said that, quite often in some cases, you might be producing in a work for hire environment where you're not actually part of the scripting. But the skills and the tools and the craft and all these things in micro drama, and that will be lending themselves to vertical content, they are things that have to really be learned and respected. And I mean that because I think since we announced that we were starting to build in this space, the amount of incoming I get of people that have had scripts over the years that they've never managed to get away, or short films or whatever, that they think, is this the opportunity? It's not. This is something that is very much its own creative form and has to be respected. And so if you're going to build a studio like this, the budgets at the moment that we are working with are up to 250K. As Sam said, we are working our model. It's very similar. We're working on sort of 9 to 10 day shoots, trying to get 10 minutes of finished content out a day. I mean, you've got to be so prepped in the planning of shooting these things because you're going to get 1 or 2 takes, especially when you're trying to move at that speed. And keeping the cast small is important. I think one of the other things that has come up a lot is about shooting ratios. So do you shoot with your camera vertically, or do you shoot 16:9? And interestingly, if you ever do go through the process and do it, you do get a different perspective. Having said that, there are a lot of producers that want to produce in both formats. So they'll shoot 16:9, but then they will make sure that they frame from the 9:16. And I suppose the reason for that is because, like anything in digital, you want to be able to exploit that content as much as you can, that IP360, that content everywhere all of the time. You might get 2 or 3 windows with a microdrama. You'll get the app that you partner with at the beginning or that commissions you or acquires it. And then you might get 2 more windows with other apps that pick it up a bit more cheaply afterwards. Once that's done its licensing period, I'm starting to see already people that are turning these into 16:9 films. And putting them out for evergreen monetization on YouTube. And so if you're going to film both formats, you really should think about what it is you want to achieve. Do you want that end goal of monetization on YouTube, or are you literally going in for the biggest hit in verticals? Because then that will decide which way you shoot it. Small team as well. I think anything in digital, you may have heard this term today, but the MVP, the minimum viable product, is really, really important. You've got to be lean and mean, and you've got to move quickly, and you've got to build things so that they have time to find their audience and grow and move. And I suppose that's why the budgets at the moment, the budgets are akin to a decent television episode. But I suppose if you're making 60 minutes or a 45-minute commercial hour, you're not too far off. But you've got to make sure that you are using that budget wisely because, as Sam said, the edit can be really complicated. And with one of the apps that we're working with at the moment, they have the right to re-edit the series once it's been published and republish. Because they have AI tools that will look at it and look at the retention rates for the audience. They'll see where people are sticking, where people are dropping off. And if they want to re-edit it and republish it, why wouldn't you do that? It gives the content a much bigger chance of succeeding. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want the numbers to get there because the return on investment can be really good. Obviously, there's been, as we've already heard, Jem was saying earlier on about the gold rush. As anything matures, what we're seeing now is an evolution. We're seeing we're seeing the streamers coming in, we're seeing the platforms coming in, and so very, very quickly, this is going to become a normal format. There's some really interesting shows, actually. One that I really recommend that you go and look at, which isn't quite in the micro-drama space, but it's definitely in the vertical space, is a show called Brooklyn Coffee Shop. Has anyone seen that? It's on Instagram. It's really worth having a look at. The format is, it's a couple of creators that are really funny. Subjectively, obviously, you might not think they're funny. But they run a coffee shop, which is a real coffee shop in Brooklyn. So there's got a real world thing about it, which feels nice. And it's sort of, and they've shot it like a mini sitcom. And so every episode, they have another creator that comes in and stars in that episode. And they're only short. They're only sort of like, 90 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever. But they have built this audience. They're building it quickly. And there's already lots of sponsorship and lots of brand integration into that. And so there are lots of ways that you can be really, really creative in this space and make money. So the model, I think the content is really key. Then you've got to make sure that the audience really, really likes that content and the content's been built for that audience. And then that will, if you get that right, give you the revenue off the back. And the business models that we are working to at the moment are, there's the freemium, which is where the apps have started, which is, you get a number of episodes free, and then you can pay to unlock the rest of the series. There's, and sort of on average, I mean, you guys will be able to tell me more whether this has changed or not, but what I've been touted is sort of it's about $20 an ep, something like that, series. Is that what you pay? To unlock? It's better to do the weekly subscription. Well, but you're an addict. But if you were to pay and just to download one film, it's a bit near to sort of downloading a movie on Amazon that's just come out or whatever. Obviously, it's $1 billion market. So IP and extensions, I think, are really important. So you might look at this and go, okay, it's 70K to 250 grand, not massive budgets. And is the return going to come? I don't know. The three models that are being worked on at the moment are, there's a work for hire, maybe a good way for you to get in and learn how to do the craft. There's a model where you finance it yourself, or you have someone like a distributor or a content finance company help you do that, and then you sell it. But from experience and conversations that we've had, you're not going to really make your money back on that series through the acquisition money, because the apps don't have any skin in the game. And so the model that seems to be the right one currently, and I think this is going to change quite rapidly, by the way, because I think, as I'll talk in a minute about the way that the broadcasters and streamers are coming into the market, I think it is going to change. But currently, if you can co-pro financially with a platform, then as long as the content's great and the marketing works, this is the big bit, they have to invest in the marketing of that film. But if they've got skin in the game with you, then you will both get back end. Then there's potential to make money. And so who does fund this? Well, the apps themselves you can partner with. Distributors are now starting to wake up to this world. There's finance, there's content finance people that are coming into the digital space these days. Brands, we haven't yet done a branded vertical yet, but we've had lots of conversations. It seems to be a hot topic. Broadcasters and streamers definitely in this space, and then self-funding is important. I think one of the things to talk about what it means for broadcasters, apps, streamers, and that type of platform is the way we see the future at Spirit is that you've only got to look towards Netflix now on your mobile, and it has mobile games. And it's starting to acquire podcasts, visualized podcasts, and producing some really high-end ones. I don't know if anyone saw any clips of the Peaky Blinders one or watched it. It was shot on a volume stage. That says a lot. And then they're all announcing vertical dramas now. And in America, they've announced that the next series of Supermodel Me is going to be produced by the guys at Real Short. And that's a big reality series in America. So the fact that they're putting Series 7 down as a vertical, shows that they want to get in and own this space. Because if you think about it, what I said at the beginning about our behaviour and about the attention economy, that war for people's eyeballs, you've got to make sure that you're reaching people at all their touch points in the day. So, my day might start in bed on my phone, if I'm being honest, and then it moves through my kitchen as I'm walking to the station, on the train. I mean, we're on our phones a lot, aren't we? Especially for work and stuff, and it doesn't take much to be distracted to move into, especially in our world where we're in the digital space all the time, checking things on our phone. It makes a lot of sense that people are using that during the daytime and thinking about TV at night, whether that's streaming or whatever. So actually, if you can own that experience throughout the day, then you've got them all day long. And then that makes much more sense of your subscription rate. So if you're Netflix charging 10 to 15 quid a month, that's pretty good value, because you know that now you're a one-stop shop. Because actually these microdrama apps are outperforming downloads of Netflix and other streamers in lots of territories. It's early in the market. The platforms are moving, the genres are expanding. We're getting global scale. Netflix, Disney, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram is quite interesting what they've talked about. They're going to be adding a tab to Instagram for creators to create their own regular serialized micro content, their own verticals. And so that could feel like a reality show or a soap opera or whatever, And it really is about attention everywhere and trying to get people's time. That's what they're all after, is our time, so they can hit that global scale. And I'll leave you with this then. So microdrama isn't just a format. It's what happens when storytelling meets feed behaviour. And if you need any proof that this is definitely the future, you've only got to look to anyone under the age of 20, to their behaviour, to know that where they consume their content, how they consume their content, if they want stories, this is where it's going to exist. Cool. There you go. Thank you.